This is a special broadcast on Times Now. The world is talking about the Israel-Palestine war, and there's a new book, a copy of which I have in my hand. This is by Dr. Joseph Thomas, who's now joining us. Dr. Thomas, congratulations on this new book. First of all, I want from you a little sense of why this book should have been written. What was the reason for you to embark on this journey?
Thank you so much, Pranesh. Thank you for having me and this opportunity. Honestly speaking, there was no plan to write this book, okay, to be honest. But this was my last book, which is called Russia-Ukraine War. I just finished this last chapter on 7th of October, early morning. I'm just finishing my chapter. Then I heard about this news of Hamas, a Sunni Islamist militant organization, attacking Israel. And during a music festival, and the rest is history. And it was very, very surprising for me to even to realize this happened, because it's not easy. Because I had been to Israel a couple of times for my office, with my job, even as a Holy Land, and I know the kind of defense system they have in place, including Iron Dome. And if they're able to penetrate this system and attack, that was mind-blowing and unbelievable to see something happen. So in my book, in one of the page I written last chapter, I said, okay, so you can see here on October 7th, I wrote, give peace a chance, because I just put two questions to the readers on this book. One, if this can happen to Israel, who's considered as one of the biggest and the most innovative in terms of technology, especially on the defense systems, every country buy, including when I was in the army, I used Israel systems, telecom, electronic warfare, and radar. I know one of the best systems they have, and I'm a big fan of Israel technology. And also, I remembered the Pegasus, right? So they can really see what's happening in your bedroom, and you didn't realize what's happening in your kitchen. That was a question mark. True. And I thought, okay, this is the next chapter book.
Now, it's interesting that you've, the first few pages, there's a page on dedications, and you've dedicated this to, apart from your family members, to all unsung heroes of our armed forces and martyrs for their supreme sacrifice. So I'm sure that comes because, you've served in the forces. So as a soldier, when you were analyzing the war, what was the most striking thing about it? The human cost of it, or the ramifications, whether it is political, socio-political, or economic?
Okay, it's a great question, Pranesh, because you're right, because every soldier, irrespective of whichever the country they belong, we signed up to protect the country at any cost. And that's why you see every soldier, without even asking a question, they're ready to sacrifice their life for the country. So any soldier, for the matter, for me, who's fighting and is martyred in the war, for me, they're heroes. Doesn't matter India, Israel, Palestine. It doesn't any country. Soldier fight for the country, and he did his job, and he died. And you can't give anything more than that to a country. And dying, supreme sacrifice, somebody dying for the country, it's not easy. Nobody ready to die today, right? Why should somebody do? Only soldiers can do. And to your point, I'm actually a part of, when I served 20 years in the Indian Army, I'm a telecom guy. I served in the Corps of Signals. So at least I had an opportunity to be part of the IPK of Sri Lanka happened during the time. The last one was Kargil, 99. I was part of this operations, Kargil OP Vijay. So I know the difference between life and death. It's I think every morning when you're talking to your friends, there are cases in our time, and the same friend you're talking in the morning, in the evening you're packing his body in a casket and putting a national flag and sending back to their hometown. It's not an easy. This is a very, very emotional thing, what a soldier goes through. But for me, the same situation. This war, whether it's Israel-Palestine war, it's actually got around more than 2,000 years of history. It's not that something happened yesterday. And when I analyze and research, I know that what's happening with Israel and Palestine is also very, very in tandem with India and Pakistan, very, very in parallel. And even from independence, 1947, India got independence, Israel got 1948. Then what happened now, the first attack from Pakistan, the first attack from Palestine, it actually goes in parallel. So that's where I call out and say after my experience in the war, and I always say people, it's easy to fight a war, but it's not easy to fight for a peace because nobody is talking about peace today, and then everybody is fighting, and this is a lot of people don't realize it's more than 1.5 years since the Russia-Ukraine war. There's no end game even now. It's almost destroyed. This is almost now it's going to be 6 months. Nobody is talking. Every discussions on US or in the superpowers about how many $1 billion of defense equipment I should supply. That is the discussion today. Rather, nobody is forcing somebody to come on the table. Let's talk. Right? Nobody's talking. So that's very alarming. That means it's nothing but a business today. Doesn't matter in the US or whoever you want to call it. These war are nothing but a business, and US always look for an opportunity. What next after Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan? They always need something. And this two war and the supply of billions of dollars, nothing talks about. Nobody cares about the soldiers or the people.
You know, while I was going through the book and during the course of reading, I was also having a look into your body of work. Books that you've written, and the book that you just held in your hand, you said this was my first book. I've also written a book. These things haven't happened in the past. Usually books are written once a war is over. Here you've written 2 books and both these wars are still going on.
Ongoing, that's right. And maybe because of my background, Pranesh, I take this ongoing war as a serious concern. And I want these institutions to, and I think, rise up to the occasions and do their job. And each time, I have no hesitation calling some of these institutions or established after, like United Nations after World War II. Right? There's a reason why United Nations exists. And even after the 2 ongoing wars, United Nations, whatever they're trying, it's absolutely not enough. United Nations, you cannot be a paper tiger and sit and do resolutions, and you have to take a call. And at least I'm glad at least we are still trust in the judiciary. Yesterday, in International Court of Justice in Netherlands, Hague, they declared this whole Palestinian issues and Israel issues and that you call that the flux point of 1967 when Israel took over this one. It's illegal and occupation is illegal. And then on last 75 years is what's happening is nothing but the same.
You also talk about the narrative, and by that it's not just the media, but also, you know, other sources. We'll come to that a little later, but I want to talk about, you were talking about the United Nations and the history of the conflict. Now, we all know that Israel-Palestine have had troubled times, and obviously there is some kind of, you know, for lack of a better word, a problem which is yet to be resolved. But what do you think is holding up peace as someone who's, you know, gone through, I'm sure, voluminous documents to write a book? What do you think is holding up peace now?
Great questions, Pranesh. The problem is, this is, for a lot of people, this is an ongoing war. But I want to cautious by telling this one, this can be you're almost going to get into a World War III situations. And that's what the biggest concern today when I'm talking about this war and why somebody should talk about peace and various people, including institutions, because what's happening between Israel and Hamas is still a smaller militant organization. But now once the Gaza and West Bank is completely destroyed, millions of people are living in the refugee camps today without water, electricity, even basic food. But now this is almost reached Lebanon. Because why? Because you have to understand the socio-political scenario. Because see, the problem is now this US support for Israel, there's also Iran want to play its own game because these Hamas or Hezbollahs of the world, they're not a single standalone entities. They have the backing of Iran, and that is why you see this. When Iran is talking about nuclear war and they almost reached Lebanon, Hezbollah got the biggest support from Iran. So just imagine now, if Iran continue to say, we are going to attack and now going to finish Hezbollah, that means this Iran is going to be involved. So far, Arab nations are not involved, just between these two. And just imagine next around 40, 50 countries forced to get involved because of now World War III means every war starts like this. Nobody starts in a sudden war. And I'm concerned if it's going to be Iran's involvement when Hezbollah attacked, then Arab world, few Arab worlds are part of in agreement with Iran.
No, Dr. Thomas, let's simplify this for the viewers. So, obviously I understand there's a pattern to wars that have been fought in the past. But if I were to ask you about things it would take to end this one, and the book that you're holding in your hand between Russia and Ukraine, what does it essentially take to diffuse situations like these?
One is, and I think simple layman's term, people talk, don't pour fuel to the fire. Right? And the same logic if you apply, instead of talking about supplying more and more defense equipments, go and fight, and somebody should seriously push for ceasefire.
Right.
Because they did ceasefire in between, that means they can still do ceasefire. And that's applicable to Russia and Ukraine and Iran and Palestine. So ceasefire is the first step to start with.
Okay.
Because without ceasefire, there's no discussion. You can't come on the table. Because even there's a missile attack on hospitals every single day, there's no discussion. That's what Egypt is keep talking. Egypt is trying its best and say ceasefire.
So you believe for someone to give peace a chance, ceasefire is the first step. Only if you can stop hostilities, can two sides come to the table and then take it from there on. Dr. Thomas, for want of time, I'm stopping this right now, but I wish you all the best, and I hope the readers find this book interesting, because I've gone through it and this is a riveting read. Congratulations once again, and thank you for speaking to Times Now.
Thank you so much. Let's try for the peace, and that's what you can leave behind for the next generation. Thank you for this opportunity, Pranesh. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.